You're 10 years old, and overnight your whole city becomes helicopters overhead and a skyline on fire. You climb onto a boat with only the clothes you're wearing, and months later you're sitting in an Alabama classroom as the only kid who doesn't speak a word of English. That's the world of Inside Out and Back Again by Thanhha Lai. And it's my pick for today's multicultural literature book talk. I chose it because it doesn't just describe what it feels like to lose your home. It puts you inside a 10-year-old's mind while everything is shifting around her. 10 years old, living in Saigon in 1975, when the war finally reaches her family's front door. As the city falls, she, her mother, and her 3 older brothers escape by boat, leaving behind the papaya tree she's spent a whole year nursing to bear fruit, and a father who's been missing in action for 9 years. The whole story is told in verse, short poems that read like diary entries. Here's an excerpt of a passage between pages 200 and 202, where Ha is struggling in school, and she's paired with an older tutor, Miss Washington. Neither of them knows quite what to do with the other at first, and then something happens between them that changes everything. I'm quiet during my lesson with Mrs. Washington. For a long time, I stare at the floral wallpaper and shelves of books. Then I notice a framed photograph of a boy in uniform. I had not known of her son Tom, or of his death as a 20-year-old soldier in the very place where I was born. I never thought the name of my country could sound so sad. I'm afraid to look at Mrs. Washington. You hate me? Child, child. She comes close and hugs me. She hugs me tighter, then pulls out a book of photographs. Tom had sent home these photographs. I suck in a breath. A photograph of a papaya tree. Excited, I yell, "Doo-doo! Best food!" Papaya? Your favorite food is papaya? By the time I teach her doo-doo, and she teaches me doo-doo, we're laughing so hard we're hungry for pancakes. She tells me to take the book home. I picked this passage because it's the moment where two people from completely different worlds actually find each other. For a reader who's lived something like Ha's story, this passage can feel like looking in a mirror. It can feel like looking through a window into a life they've never known. And for a small moment, it's a door they get to walk through with her. The idea of mirrors, windows, and doors actually comes from research on what makes a book like this one matter. A scholar named Rudine Sims Bishop first described it back in 1990, and more recently, a researcher named Caitlin Jackson built onto that idea for today's classrooms. Inside Out and Back doesn't just tell you about Ha's experience from the outside, it invites you in. This book connects to anyone who's had to start all over somewhere new, in a school, a town, or a country, and had to figure out who they are all over again. Ha's account also pairs well with harder official sources, news reports, and military accounts. Reading her story right alongside those records shows you how differently the same event can look depending on who's telling the story. I'd recommend this book to any reader who wants a fast, powerful read and doesn't look away from hard history, but also doesn't forget there's a kid at the center of it. The book moves quickly, and since it's told in short verse, it pairs well with more contemporary news sources as an interesting text set. Thanks for watching, and I hope you pick up a copy of Inside Out and Back Again. Happy reading.